Okay, we are headed for a new year. In 30 days, we will have a new year with all the new blessings and none of the old problems. A new year. And we prepare for that new year for 30 days by blowing the shofar every morning in the month of Elul, the month that we're entering or have just entered. So let's get right to the point about the shofar. The reason for the shofar primarily is that Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, is when we coronate God as our king for another year. It seems that God is willing to be our king 1 year at a time, see how it goes, and then decide for the next year. So every year on Rosh Hashanah, we coronate God as our king, which means that kingship in Torah thinking, in Jewish life, a king is not a dictator. The history of a Jewish king is that the people asked for a king. So every king is a chosen king. We have to show allegiance. We have to coronate him and let him know that we would like to have him be our king. So it's a mutually agreed upon relationship. Now, Chassidus says that God will never stop being the king of the world and the king of his people. So it's not like we have to convince God to be king, but we have to make being king a little more pleasurable for him. So every day that goes by since the moment of creation, every moment the world becomes more pleasurable to him. It is a greater pleasure for him, the king. And the king, of course, has to take care of the infrastructure. He has to provide, he has to protect, he has to build. And it's a menial task. But if we do it willingly and we find pleasure in having him as our king, that gives him pleasure in being our king. So the sounding of the shofar is like the coronation trumpets, declaring God our king, our only king, the only king we want or accept. So we do this for 30 days, not because we're obligated, but because of the anticipation. Now, the angel that accuses us of not being so good gets very confused when we do this. What is he confused about? We do this every year. He should be catching on by now. It's not like we blow shofar every day of this month and the accusing angel doesn't know when Rosh Hashanah is, so he doesn't know when to put in his complaints. Can't, fool a person once. But the reason the accusing angel is confused is because the accusing angel, of course, thinks in terms of reward and punishment, deserving, undeserving, innocent or guilty. It's a legal thing. So when the Jew blows shofar on Rosh Hashanah, he is doing a mitzvah, he's doing a good thing. When we don't do mitzvahs, not so good. That's what the angel understands. But when we blow shofar without even having been commanded, when we go beyond the letter of the law, we get excited about God as our king, not for legal purposes, but for intimate, personal reasons. He is our God since he became the God of Abraham and of Sarah and of Yitzchak and of Rivka. So the personal side of the relationship, the angel does not understand, and that confuses him. How do you accuse people of not being good when they in fact go beyond the letter of the law. Really amazing. So, the sounding of the shofar is also a sound of tshuva. We want to get closer. We don't want to have another year like last year. We want to make a better year. We want to use this year more productively, more properly, to get us closer to the truth and closer to our innocence and closer to our God. And that's what the whole tumult of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is all about. We know we're going to have another year of life, but we want to make sure that it's a life worthy of its title. And so we consider what was right and wrong last year, where we can improve, what we can improve, and we promise God to do a better job this year than we did last year. And so every year, every day since creation, there's more godliness in the world than there was a day before. The sound of the shofar is a sound of yearning. And so the first sound is just a simple cry. When that gets more intense, it breaks down into sobs. And when it gets even more intense, it breaks into whimpering. So for example, listen to this. Here's the simple cry. Here is the sobbing. And here's the whimper. Okay, those are the three sounds that we make all together on the Rosh Hashanah. We do 30 and then 100. But right now we'll just go the basics. Now the shofar won't work. We fulfilled the custom. Every day we do this because every day we consider the closeness, the kindness that we expect from God, we ask of God. We want it to become more and more personal, more and more intimately connected. We don't like it when God is mysterious. We don't like it when God is distant. And so for a month, we practice closeness. And the shofar is a very strong inspiration. Now, I understand there are things happening in the world that are pretty intense inspirations too. It's been a crazy year full of surprises, but a lot of good has come from it. A lot of moral good, maybe not financial good. But we have to be confident. You may be sure that whatever is happening this year is simply clearing the way, preparing us for a much better year. In health, in wealth, in peace, and in morality. Because we're becoming better people. Of course, that doesn't make it to the news. When somebody said, when the good news makes it to the news, you will know Moshiach is here. So it's not in the news, but it's very real. As the world becomes better and people become better, you know that you can expect better results, and we're going to be much better off, even though it seems like we're going in the negative direction. It's just clearing the way for something greater and much better than we've imagined before. So we're now breaking our habit. A quick example. A man came to a Rebbe years and years ago. He was very poor, He delivered wood in his wagon with his weak little horse, and he kept asking the Rebbe for a blessing for wealth. And the blessing never materialized. And then one day his horse died. And now he really panicked, and he came running to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, now you're going to get rich. So he said, why now? He said, because until now, all you could think of is that using your horse, you're going to get rich. Well, how rich can you get with a weak old horse? Now that the horse is out of the way, now you're open up for real wealth. So we think we know how we're going to get rich. We think we know how we're going to get healthy. We think we know how the world's going to get better, but we're thinking petty. Now that all of the things we trusted and relied on are kind of gone, now we're open to much greater blessings than we were before. So Shana Tova, the new year should begin already now as we begin our preparation. God should prepare his preparations, do his preparations, and start showing us the good that the new year is going to bring. We should all be inscribed in a book of life. A book of life means the wisdom of life, because books are wisdom. So we should all understand the beauty and the importance and the significance of our lives, live up to what God expects of us, a little more than our own imagination will allow. And let's make the world truly godlier and holier than heaven can possibly be. Shana Tova.